Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Democracy is about to go the way of the dinosaurs because we've been taken over by a dodo bird.
I feel like the bottom has to fall out at some point. And by the way, I'm hoping for it because I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. So please bring on the recession.
A recession is a survivable event. What Trump is doing to this country is not.
Well, you should wish for a recession because that will definitely get him unelected.
Hoping for a recession. People hate me for it, but it would get rid of Trump, so you shouldn't hate me for it.
We have survived many recessions. We can't survive another Donald Trump.
A recession would be very worth getting rid of Donald Trump and these kind of policies. I've been saying for about 2 years that I hope we have a recession.
Are we going to? Are we talking ourselves into it? For the first time ever, Trump's having to answer questions about the economy and what's going on. You know, what's funny is when things were rolling and it was smooth and you could tell the economy was really rocking and rolling, which, by the way, for all intents and purposes, it's still doing rather well. But it was Obama's economy. And then when it slows down, the same people scream that, well, now it's Trump's turn. It's so politics. It makes me laugh. Hey, my side says it's now your turn. But when it was good, it was our turn. If it goes bad, it's your turn. Just want to let you guys know that. But he's got to answer some questions because people are starting to ask some real questions about the economy and what does his base do? And I think that's very real.
Donald Trump has had one powerful and faithful ally, the economy. More than anything else, he has counted on the economy to help overcome doubts about his style and carry him to re-election. But that ally may be deserting him. This week's stock market tumble, 800 points on Wednesday, was not entirely Mr. Trump's doing, but the drop can be tied to the uncertainty that has been caused by the trade war Mr. Trump has launched against China. The question for the president, will his supporters, who have either embraced or simply accepted so much of his norm-breaking presidency, be as forgiving of all of those breaking of norms if the economy falters?
No, and I don't know if people are going to be able to do it. I think there's a group of people in his base that will always vote for him, period, case closed. He can do no wrong. The minute I say something critical of him, I see a lot of those people that come out and attack me. Tell me what a horrible person I am. Last week, Jack was here visiting for the last 10 days or so. And, I laugh at some of this stuff. But, Jack, I showed Jack a few of the things that people send me. And he's like, oh, my God, that's horrible. And I'm just like, it just is what it is. People call you. There's this group out there that they will blindly follow, right? You wonder how Jonestown happened. You wonder how certain things happen because there is a certain amount of people out there that will blindly follow anything. And the economy is always going to be tied to the person in the White House. Always, right? Just like we've talked about it. Just like coaching. Right? If you're a great coach, but your team struggles, you get kind of a first year or two where you're trying to set some stuff straight and maybe you didn't come into a perfect situation. But eventually, if it doesn't turn around, you pay the price, even if it's not your fault. And some of this is self-inflicted. Now, what happens from here? 74% of economists say that we will have a recession by the end of 2021. So about a year and a half to 2 years from now, we could start to see it really erode and where we head into a downturn in the marketplace. And then what kind of recession are we going to have? Most economists, 97% say we're not going to have a recession this year. And a good majority say we're not going to have one through most of next year. So that's good news for the president. Because as the economy goes, I don't care, again, how nice you are, how nice you're not, how much you tweet or you don't tweet, you're going to be tied to that economy. You'll get a pass. Obama got a pass because of what he was coming into. And now it wasn't fair to saddle him with that. But that only goes so far. And if we head into a downturn, let's say the middle of next year, that could be a real problem for the president. And some of this is self-inflicted, and some of it is just what the world is globally. Trump has come out. He's defending the economy, as are a lot of other people inside of the administration.
I don't see a recession. I mean, the world is in a recession right now. And although that's too big a statement, but if you look at China, China's doing very, very poorly.
They are. They are doing poorly. And that is making them uncomfortable as well. Remember, Xi Jinping is in a situation where every day he's on the hot seat. And every day they're looking around saying, we got to figure something out. They're feeling what is going on right now a lot more than people realize. They'll never admit it because that's not who they are. But the reality is yeah, there's some problems there. But there are several other nations that are facing some serious issues on the economic side. So do I think that there's going to be a recession this year? No, I do not. Do I think we're going to get one early next year? I do not think so. I think we're going to be strong. But yes, is one eventually coming? Like death and like being a coach, eventually the end is near.
Well, first of all, I don't see a recession at all. Second of all, the Trump pro-growth program, which I believe has been succeeding, lower tax rates, big rollback of regulations, energy opening, trade reform. We're going to stay with that. We believe that's the heart of the free enterprise. We want an incentive-oriented supply-side economy, providing opportunities for everybody across the board.
Yeah, that's what they want. They think it's going well. They think they've opened up a lot of stuff and through this regulation, but you got to look at other things too, not just strictly, hey, we're taking regulations and the tax cut. Tax cuts are only going to go so far, right? It's only going to go so far. One of the things that people look as an indicator is the RV indicator, they call it. If you don't know what that is recreational vehicles. This year, purchases as far as what people are going to take on a delivery this year is down about 20%. What's that mean? Well, people who are older, people who've got some disposable incomes, they tend to have toys. And one of those big toys is the RV. And that in some ways is everybody's looking for what indicator they use that we could be seeing a slowdown. And if we're down 21% essentially because of that, what does that mean? It's coming. My big thing is, how do we handle it? That to me is as real as it gets. It's not that if it's going to arrive, because it is going to arrive. It's how big is this thing going to be when it gets here. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love hearing from every single one of you. So did we or did we not stop potentially 3 mass shooters over the weekend? And I found this to be interesting because it's people are looking and saying, hold on a second. Look, we stopped 3. We see something, say something. It worked. You had Florida. You had Tristan Scott Wicks, 25, of Daytona Beach, who was arrested Friday. He was charged with making threats to commit a mass shooting. He sent multiple texts. Says he wanted to commit a mass shooting. The office didn't say who it sent. Mr. Wicks sent this stuff to. So he said, school's the weak target. I'd like to be more, to open fire on a larger crowd of people. He said he was looking to set a record. 100 kills would be nice. Then you added somebody in Connecticut, Brandon Wagshole, 22, who was arrested for illegally possessing large capacity magazines. And apparently they executed a search warrant. They found he had 2 other guns registered to his dad, multiple rounds of ammunition, body armor, and tactical equipment. He had been trying to buy other things, not saying what he was targeting. And then in Ohio, you had a 20-year-old, James P. Reardon, who was arrested, and they received an online tip that he was going to try to shoot up a Jewish community center. And it hadn't happened yet, obviously. He posted a video on Instagram. He tagged the Jewish Community Center of Youngstown from Reardon's account. Search warrant was executed at Reardon's parents' home on the same day. Solid. What do they have in common? Angry, pissed off young men with nothing is what they have in common. Nothing. They are losers. They are losers. That's what they had into it. That's what they did. We got to start looking again. We talk about red flags. We talk about this. We talk about that. How about we talk about something that we need to start drilling down in is why do they feel the way they do?
We're seeing an increase in acts of targeted violence, mass casualty attacks by disaffected, mentally unwell individuals who spend a lot of time online. They self-connect with a cause or they self-connect with some grievance, and they use that as the excuse to conduct a mass casualty attack. What we're also seeing, though, is a dramatic increase in public displays of far right and in particular white supremacist individuals.
Yeah, but he said it in the middle of it, which is disenfranchised. They're looking around. They feel like they've got absolutely nothing. And what are they looking for? They're looking for power. They're looking for something that feels like gives them a reason for being. We talked a bit about it last week. The Joker movie's coming out. I believe it is early next month, maybe late September. And Joaquin Phoenix, everybody says he's mesmerizing in it. But what it is a guy who feels like he has nothing. He's beat up, tossed aside by the world, treated horribly, and he's deciding he's going to take revenge on everything. And that's kind of what a lot of these guys, they're pissed off, they're angry. If you look at them compared to how you look at somebody like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, by and large, what do you find? You find people that are struggling, right? Disenfranchised from anything, usually have nothing, are looking for a cause, and are talked into it. Same thing you see with street gangs. Right? You don't have a family. You feel like you have nothing. You feel like you have power. There's no power. Well, there's power in numbers. We'll be on your team. So why are they pissed? Why are they angry? That's what we need to figure out. That's absolutely what we need to figure out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Hong Kong over the weekend. Crazy, insane, and now what? I don't know how many people were out there. I mean, beyond. It was insane to look at.
The slogan of protesters is, it's now or never, and that's because they've been here before and it didn't work. And what I'm hearing repeatedly is they won't stop until their demands, which are centred on justice and democracy, are met. And this gives Beijing a real dilemma, because if it backs down, it sets a dangerous precedent potentially for the rest of the country. And if it intervenes violently, then President Trump now saying it'd be hard to do a trade deal and the rest of the world will be under pressure to respond.
Yeah. And we'll see. We'll see what takes place. They're in a situation. Could you imagine if sanctions and people stop doing trade and stuff with China because of what takes place in Hong Kong and what potentially could happen there and how ugly that could get, how fast that could get? And that will have repercussions everywhere. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hope you had a good weekend. I had a crazy weekend, starting out with the fact that I had to take my son Jack home, which just bummed me out. And then found out that Winston, my giant lizard, had escaped. Something happened. The garage door got open. We weren't home. So flooded Facebook everywhere. Could not find him. In the area we live is a little bit more rural, where you assume that the coyotes have got him because they've gotten one of our cats before, and they are everywhere. And totally bummed. Ordered Domino's pizza. We got Domino's pizza. We're sitting there. Phone rings. It's Domino's saying, hey, you guys posted something about Winston, your big lizard, right? Yeah, because kind of, he's all over. I post him everywhere. It's got a little Instagram and the whole 9 yards. We're like, yeah, our pizza person just dropped it off. She just saw him, took a picture of him. Sure enough, he was down the street hiding in the bushes. It was crazy, man. I was like, talk about being gutted. Whew, God, that was a punch. But we found him. Thank God. And see, social media can be good. Speaking of driving, speaking of doing all kinds of stuff, CarShield is amazing. Now is your time to sign up. Go to carshield.com. Check out everything they have and everything they offer. They got a plan that's right for you. Your car has like 5,000, about 150,000 miles on it. You don't have to be in a situation where you worry about the what if. You don't have a warranty anymore. Let CarShield be that thing for you that backs you up in case of cover repairs. 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop, and that shop is the shop you choose. $2 billion in claims is what they've paid out, and they are ready to help you. I don't worry about it. And again, I travel a lot. I did about 1,600 miles last week, and I do not worry about the what if when it comes to my car because I know how they'll take care of me. CarShield's amazing. Visit carshield.com, carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10% or call 800-CAR-6000. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. A deductible may apply. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
New York City Police Commissioner James O'Neill following an administrative judge's recommendation and firing Officer Daniel Pantaleo over the 2014 death of Eric Gardner. Pantaleo engaging Gardner in the chokehold that led to his death on New York's Staten Island. Today, O'Neill, a former street cop himself, saying he could imagine himself in a similar situation as Pantaleo, but nevertheless firing him.
Yep, fired him, and of course the debate is on. So wait a minute here. He didn't do something wrong. He did do something wrong. He lied. Did he not lie? What exactly is this? It's all politics to make people happy. That's going to be the debate that goes on.
The Staten Island District Attorney declined to bring criminal charges, and Attorney General Barr declined to bring federal civil rights charges, as the Garner family had hoped. The police commissioner really tried to strike a balance. At heart, the police commissioner, James O'Neill, is a street cop, has been for all of his career. He's not a political guy, but the politics have become inevitable, especially since the mayor of the city on a national debate stage promised that there would be justice for the Garner family.
Yeah, so now what? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. He's going to go and he's going to file a suit against wrongful termination. Welcome to the world of competing lawsuits against one another. And I bet you he gets paid, but on the political side of things, they'll feel that some justice was done, that he lost his job. They'll end up paying him out some money, and everybody will go, and this horrible situation that took place, it'll be held up whenever any incident happens, but no real justice was done. Because you said that he didn't do anything wrong. You decided both at the federal level and at the local level you weren't going to charge him with anything, and you fired him because of the political pressure. So get ready for lawsuits. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Got a poll question up today, and it's pretty simple. You think the economy is headed for a recession or not? What do you think? 20% say yes, I do. 43% say no. 32% say not yet, but it is slowing down. And 5% say not sure. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. It is simple. It is easy. Right? You can text the program as well and check us out on the Instagram, or the gram as the kids call it. Speaking of that, can you decode Gen Z? So we have Gen Z now, and they've got new slang. Can you decode it? Talk a bit about that. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
These are not people seeking asylum at border checkpoints, but those trying to slip through between the ports of entry. Last month,
we have seen a decrease.
Fidel Baca of Customs and Border Protection says 72,000 people were caught illegally entering the country last month. That's down substantially from June.
These numbers are still high compared to last year's.
Some say the 2-month decline is the result of a crackdown by Mexico on illegal immigration. Baca believes it's cyclical.
Right now, we just happen to be on a decline.
Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Yeah, so, this fight's going to go on and on and on, this whole immigration thing. And we had, quote unquote, the raid or whatever it was a few weeks ago in Mississippi that turned out to be a nothing. But it did show that there was a certain amount of failure for our system here, with us allowing companies, management, and in mid-level companies, potentially CEOs and stuff, to basically turn a blind eye and hire people. And that right there needs to stop. I posted something the other day about why aren't we doing perp walks with CEOs and managers and people like that who are totally fine with this. We should be. And it's funny because most people I talk to, conservative, Republicans, whatever you want to call them, are all for arresting and or punishing people who hire people that are here illegally. Now, you're not always going to catch everybody. And by the way, I think we all know this. Some people will get around the system, meaning they're here. They go through even the entire checkpoint of E-Verify and the whole 9 yards, and they get through lying and using somebody else. You can't hold some people accountable if there's a system and they beat the system. But it is not just about what took place at a food processing center. But if you look around the country and look at the way that companies have gone and used this labor and think about how unfair it is for small business owners across this country who have to deal, like, you're a roofer in Southern California, Northern California, and you're doing everything above board, right? And you're competing against, a couple guys in a truck, if you will, and they're not. They're going to beat you on the bid. They're going to beat you on everything. Why? Well, they're not paying taxes, not paying payroll taxes. They don't have insurance. They don't have any of these things where you're doing everything else, and that's built into the cost of doing business. We should be going hard, but we don't. We absolutely don't. And if you really want to fix immigration, besides the asylum things, start going after the people, whether they're homeowners hiring people that are here illegally, whether they are people who are knowingly hiring groups of people in mass. You go after them, I'm telling you, you start to see the jobs dry up. Guess what happens? People go, uh-oh, and they leave. Because when they don't have a job, what happens? They'd rather be broke and poor in their own country than here. But why we don't do this more is beyond me. And I know that, they talked about it, that in Tennessee last year, they did a similar raid, and I think it was the CEO or the owner of the company. He's doing like 14 months in jail. It's just too little. Let's get real about the way that we handle these things. And I think we need to do that in a serious way if we're taking on immigration. That includes holding employers, even homeowners, accountable for this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. Oh, last week AOC was on Pod Save America. I think it was one of those big podcasts that are out there. And she was talking about race. And it's a very interesting situation in this world about race. And I want to share something that Jack and I had a big conversation about.
First of all, I think the biggest mistake that we have, and it's a trap that gets set by the right, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is just the frame of asking, is blank racist? That is something that we have to pull ourselves out of. It's not about asking whether Trump voters are racist. We need to talk about racism, not racists.
Yeah.
Racists, it's a very two-dimensional, boring conversation. Is something racist? Yes or no? And then you debate it.
What do you do? Right.
What do you do about that? We need to talk about racism.
Okay. All right. So it's very interesting. She's out there doing what she does. And I had an interesting conversation with Jack last week that, here's my son. He's 9 years old and goes to school in California. Pretty progressive kind of area and stuff. And he says to me, we're sitting here, and he says, "Hey, Dad, when we watch movies," I said, "Yeah." He says, "I feel really bad when the black guy dies." And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Just because I don't think it's fair. It's almost like racist." I go, "Where did you get that?" And then he starts telling me, all these things that he thinks is racism. And I'm just sitting there listening, right? As Pop should be, doing. And then he says, "Well, I learned some of this stuff at school, and we go through all of this stuff." And I said, "Do you feel bad because you're white?" He goes, "I kind of do." And I said, "No, you kind of don't." And then we had this long conversation about this insanity of that. And I'm sorry, you know what? He's 9. If you want to talk more about social issues later on, you know what? As you get older and your mind starts to expand, and you start to learn more and more about the world, and you start to understand more and more that's going on because you're paying a little bit more attention, I've got zero problems to a certain extent. But indoctrination I will not have. Not with my son. I'm sorry. And the fact that he's 9 and he's already feeling guilty for stuff is absolutely insane.
So Trump relied on a coalition, and a core part of that coalition were racists.
Yeah.
Building a coalition with all sorts of other people that could be susceptible to racist views if they were blanketed and layered and made people feel good about it not being a racist thing.
Right.
And so there are a lot of people who support Trump that genuinely don't believe that they are racist.
And that's one of the problems right there that I think a lot of people need to realize. They don't believe they're racist. Well, does it make them not racist? Well, slow your roll. They don't understand. You're trying to point out something to them, that you're racist because of this. This is how I feel. And again, in life, it's no longer what you say. It's no longer how it's meant. It's how it's taken. And when people start to define language and things as racist and racism, you're always going to be in a situation where you are, what? Going to be on the wrong side based on somebody else's viewpoint, no matter what you do. Unless you 100% wholeheartedly agree with that person. There's a lot of people out there that I don't think are racist, but based on today's standards, I think everybody who's white essentially is in some way, shape, or form guilty of racism. And you're being judged, and I'm being judged, and everybody else is being judged just on the color of their skin based on something. I was trying to tell Jack the other day, Jack, you've done nothing wrong at all. You've done absolutely nothing wrong. Based on things that happened many decades ago, you somehow are paying the price for it. And as far as how you're listening and being told and in some ways even being shamed and guilted into something that you had no responsibility for. You're nine. But yeah, I mean, you see it all the time. And my God, we talked about it, 2-3 weeks ago. You know, Rosanna Arquette apologizes for being white, says she's ashamed and feels guilty. WTF, are you kidding me?
Because we do not talk about or educate people on recognizing racism. Mm-hmm. And because we do not do that, it just allows itself.
That's all you do. I can't even stand to listen. That's all you do. You educate people on a daily basis. And in fact, not only do you educate people, you at times change the goalposts. You move the goalposts. You say this is racism. You say this is racism. Well, it wasn't yesterday. Well, we decided it is today. We're changing the rules. This is what it is today. But it wasn't yesterday. But it is today. Okay. That's all you do. It's crazy. Like, perfect example, right, of all racism in the whole 9 yards is the Redskins. Football season, how close are we, right? Watch games over the weekend. Excited. We're, 2-3 weeks away from the start of football season. I'm excited. Every year, the same thing happens. Is it a name that we should get rid of based on the political correctness, the Redskins? It's been around a while. So we'll ask Native Americans.
Contrary to popular belief, the name of D.C.'s NFL team, the Washington Redskins, isn't actually offensive to Native Americans, at least according to a Washington Post survey. 500 people who identify as Native American were asked to pick from a list of 40 emotions which best describe their feelings about the Redskins. The emotion most picked, proud, followed by indifferent.
Wait, what? No, that's impossible. Because guilty white people say you should be offended by such names.
Respondents rationalizing that it's just a name and it honors or represents their heritage or people are overly sensitive.
You think? It's the world we live in. People changing the rules. It's frustrating as hell. It is. And when I've got my 9-year-old son who is uncomfortable in his classroom and talking about situations about race, it's to me, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be. You should talk about things. You should educate people in situations, which I'm totally fine with, giving them the little overview of Martin Luther King, of some of the things like that, and moving on. But talking about certain things in a way that, you know what, that's for an older topic and conversation, and mom and dad will handle those kind of things because we're raising them. You aren't. Oh, that pissed me off. Oh, Good God. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Poll question today. How do you feel about the economy? Are you worried? You not worried? Are we headed to a recession? Are we in a recession? Like to hear from you. You can text the program. Tweet at us as well. 19% say, yeah, we're heading to a recession. 47% you say, no, I don't think so. 28% said, not yet, but we are slowing down. And 6% say, not sure. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can tweet at me as well, and you can text the program 323-538-2423. Raycons, earbuds, amazing. You're going to love them. The E50s, Ray J, amazing. Entrepreneur, music producer, guy gets it. He's put together the best, stylish earbuds around in a way that is so amazing. I just absolutely love these things. Comfortable. So I'm very particular about things that go in my ears, right? My headphones and things like that. Being in the business, I don't like certain things. I don't like stems. I don't like dangling wires. You're going to get none of that with this. It's amazing. You just snap them right on in and away you go. Half the price, better sound, better quality, better style. That's what Raycon's going to deliver you. Hey, don't take my word for it. The likes of Cardi B and Snoop Dogg and many others absolutely swear by them. You will as well. And right now, if you go to buyraycon.com/Chad, you're going to save 15%. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Save yourself 15% on wireless earbuds. Buyraycon.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson, Chad Benson Show.
Take it anymore! Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
I'm guessing you're not the popular kids in school.
They're doing pretty well at the box office. The raunchy comedy Good Boys opened best of the newcomers this weekend, outperforming expectations with a $21 million debut.
No, this is not good. We're going for a ride!
Even more impressive, they knocked Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw out of first into second. The Lion King held on to third.
Well, that's disappointing.
And even though it opened Tuesday, The Angry Birds Movie 2 couldn't score higher than a fourth-place debut.
I do want to see that movie, Good Boys. It looks funny. It's raunchy comedy. We've talked about, like, is that R-rated kind of crazy sex, wacky comedy gone? If you're an adult, yeah, probably. But we could do it with kids. It's like cartoons, right? We can do things with cartoons. Family Guy can get away with stuff. South Park can get away with stuff. The cartoons are able to do all of these things that just regular live action couldn't get away with anymore. And now it's like, well, we can do this, but we're going to do it with kids because what are they going to say? The kids. So we'll just do that. We're going to make Animal House, but we're going to use kids. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I still find this to be the weirdest story in football, but it's an understandable story about Antonio Brown and his helmet and what's going on right now.
Antonio is very genuine. He wants to be there. He wants to be a part of the team. He wants to practice, but he'd also like to do it with the helmet that he's worn his entire life. He wore this helmet in Pee Wee football, high school football, college at Central Michigan, and he also wore this helmet his 9-year career.
Yeah, and he's upset because there's new rule based on CTE and what they're looking at, and they're trying to make everything safer, right? And they looked at his helmet, and they said, the NHL did this many, many moons ago, long before you guys, we look at the NHL now, we're like, whoa. Back in the old days, like in the 80s, guys didn't wear helmets. There's plenty of guys didn't wear any helmets. And if you were playing in the 80s, you were grandfathered into the opportunity to play without a helmet, even though if you just came in the 90s, you couldn't play without a helmet. So you were grandfathered in, and it was very interesting because they also changed helmets for, certain players. Like Wayne Gretzky wore a helmet that you could buy that it wouldn't do anything. They just liked it. And he feels the same way. I get it. As a guy who played sports, let me tell you something. I played on teams in Europe where it's like, all right, we're all getting free boots. And we're like, oh, okay, great. And then just the worst soccer boots you've ever had. And you would go and you would remove the logo of that boot that you got, right? and you would get the shoe that you normally like to play in and you just have it sewn on. But this is different. This is all about safety, and I understand that. I get the safety thing. I absolutely get the safety thing. My brother, and you guys hear me talk about Tristan all the time, hockey kid, was on his way professionally. He's playing major juniors the whole 9 yards. He suffered several bad concussions over the last 4 or 5 years, and the last one scared him to death. He's not playing anymore. He's decided he's hanging it up. He has gone to the doctors on numerous occasions, and they've told him he is 20 years old, that he has potentially early onset dementia because of how many concussions. I get it. I understand. But the risk is there now. People understand that. And it's a violent game. Is the helmet going to change that month? I've always said, until you can get inside somebody's actual skull and figure out a way to make the brain not fly around in there, I doubt it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Economy good? Is the economy bad? Where are we headed? 74% say economists expect there to be a slowdown in 2021, which is not this year or next year, which would be good for the president that the economy stays strong. What do you think? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can text the program as well. 323-538-2423. 323-538-CHAD. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I know that I have made mistakes. I am sorry for harm I have caused. I have listened and I have learned a lot. And I am grateful for the many conversations that we've had together. It is a great honor to be able to partner with Indian country.
You have no idea what you're talking
that's
about.
what I've tried to do as a senator, and that's what I promise I will do as President of the United States of America.
I don't believe you, paleface. Who believes paleface? Oh, my God. She's apologized in Sioux City. She's apologized. She's apologized for, the thing. Where she was like, and I'm this, and then she wasn't that, but then she went around like, I'm this, but then I did a DNA test, and it says I'm 1111 quadrillionth Native American. So maybe I'm this. I'm what? No, you're not. You know what's funny though? Because I saw her on stage, and this made me laugh. There's some guy on stage next to her, and he looked like he was 1/1000th. Like he just wanted to, he's like, I'm part Native American so I could wear my hair really long. And he had like accountant's hair, but it was really long. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure about that either. So she's apologized though. By the way, she's catching up to old Biden there. And that's going to be interesting. From what I understand now, the plan with Biden is pretty simple. Hide him. Whatever you do, don't let him get out. Hide him. Everything's got to be scripted. He cannot go off script. Just hide him. Hide him. Hide him. Don't let him talk because he's ruining everything. And she's gaining. And she's gaining big time. And she may have the big momentum. And those two pitted against each other. It'll be interesting to see what happens in September if they do get pitted against each other, if there is indeed two instead of one debates. So we'll figure that out. Earlier today, Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib had a chance to air their anger out. They're pissed off and they're angry about what the Israelis did, what President Trump is continuing to do, which is to fire at them over the fact that they're anti-Semitic and Israel didn't want them in their country.
What is not common occurrence is members of Congress being barred from entering a country on these fact-finding missions unless they agree to strict set of rules curtailing their rights or being required to submit their itineraries for stop-by-stop pre-approval.
That was Rashid Tlaib. She's mad. And then Trump tweeted out something on Friday and then about her. The only winner in this entire thing is her grandmother, because her grandmother doesn't have to see her. But then her grandmother came and fired at Trump and basically said that, she hopes the world ruins him. It's not pretty. And she had a chance to go. She did. She had a chance to go and she chose not to because they wanted her to essentially play by the rules that they were asking, which is, yes, you can come here, but we want you to come here and not disparage us, not tear us apart, not go against us. And she would not give that, right? So she wanted to come on a humanitarian basis. But when they said, fine, you can do that, we've got no problems, you want to come see your grandmother, got zero problems with that, then you didn't want to play by their rules.
We must be asking, as Israel's ally, the Netanyahu government stop the expansion of settlements on Palestinian land and ensure full rights for Palestinians if we are to give them aid.
So we'll see what that is. And that, look, let's be real. They don't like each other. They've never liked each other. This isn't going to change at all. Period. Case closed. You know it. I know it. It's just the way it is, right? That's just exactly what it is. They've never liked each other. They're not going to like each other anytime soon. And it was a great opportunity for two of the squad to get out there today and to fire away at Trump and Netanyahu. And, as I look at it in two ways, they have the right to say you can't come into our country. At the same time, they are Congress people representing us. We're your biggest allies, and you may not like what they have to say, but I think it would have been a great opportunity to sit there and at least show them a different side that maybe they're not getting the entire story, as tends to happen in a situation like this, where both sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict feel they're freedom fighters and they're protecting something, and why not have a conversation? But today wasn't about any of that. Today, the reality is about a chance to take a shot at the president and Netanyahu.
We know Donald Trump would love nothing more than to use this issue to pit Muslims and Jewish Americans against each other.
My other issue with these two is they've not really been taken to task like other people have been taken to task in certain situations with tweets and some of the things they've said. And they want to take no responsibility for some of the things they've said in the past and some of the things that they've tweeted out, where everybody else would have taken full responsibility, and rightly so in some cases, right? Rightly so. They feel like they've not really done anything wrong here. They feel like, we haven't done anything wrong. We're the ones who are victims. And you had a chance to go over there. Let's remember, you had a chance to go see your grandmother, and you chose not to take that chance. That is on you. That is not on anybody else. That right there is on you. You had a chance to go. You didn't want to do it. That is on you. Well, they wanted me to submit some of my stuff and tell them what I was going to be doing. Well, you know what? It's their country. You've said some stuff in the past. You've been hypercritical of them in the past. And other countries ban people all the time. I bring this up about Michael Savage. They tell him he can't come to Great Britain. I don't see you out there freaking out about that. I don't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. What will happen when it comes to the economy? Trump's out touting it.
I don't see a recession. I mean, the world is in a recession right now. And although that's too big a statement, but if you look at China, China's doing very, very poorly.
Yeah, China's struggling. And they're not going to tell us exactly what's going on behind their wall of brilliance that they feel that they have. They've got issues that are fighting. They're fighting two, and I spoke earlier to Congressman David Schweikert. to Congressman Andy Biggs. They're fighting two wars here. A war of public opinion when it comes to what's happening in Hong Kong and how they deal with that and what the potential of that may be, especially if it goes south, and the heavy-handedness that they promised they wouldn't have, and they would let Hong Kong essentially be autonomous from them, even though it was still part of China. They were going to let them do their own thing. And now they're facing the real possibility of maybe going down and cracking down. And what will the world do in that situation? On top of that, they're not growing at 10% anymore. They're not growing probably at 5%. It may be closer to 3 or 4, and it's slowing down. And if they overstep potentially in Hong Kong, what does the world do? And the world has to, it can't just be us. We can't be doing the heavy lifting on this. The world would have to act in this situation. And what does the world do? That's just it. But when we look at the economy, you stand up and you say, okay, look, is something coming? Yeah. Is it coming tomorrow? No. And I'll tell you this, after this next recession, we will have a bounce back. And then eventually, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years just down the road, we will have another recession because there's ebbs and flows. The big thing is what does this recession look like? Is it 2008 part 2? Or is this a soft landing with a quarter of 2 of maybe some, some subtraction inside of the economy, and then we pick up steam again and away we head? Or are we looking at another 2008? And I think that's vitally important when you break this thing down. How do we look going into that? And the thought process is the White House is exploring ways to make the economy maybe start to take off again, looking at, payroll taxes and other things like that. I don't know if that's a good idea, but when you're going into an election, your whole goal is, you will be the one to pay the price. You will be the one to pay the price for a slowing economy that could be retracting. You would be it, right? No matter, again, and I say it and I'll continue to say it. He could be the nicest guy in the world. Both sides of the parties could love him, right? Republicans, liberals, Democrats, progressives, they could sing songs around his greatness. Whoever that person would be, he or she, if they were president. And if the economy sucks, that person will still pay the price. Conversely, he could be divisive at times. He could be loud. She could be loud. They could be angry, aloof at times, a little off kilter, and fire straight from the hip. But if the economy is going well, we have a problem changing mid-flight. So, yes, the economy is his best friend and potentially his worst enemy. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you're doing well. Oh, man. Moms, you know what's going on right now. Dads as well. Clock watching, right? Starts about 3 o'clock. Kids in school, getting home. What are they doing? Are they there? Are they safe? Peace of mind. That's what parents want, including myself. That's why adding the Blink XT2 cameras, security cameras, to their shopping list is vitally important. First and foremost, they're almost like being there, right? That's what it's like. You have the Blink cameras. You can see what happens. You get a video sent. Hey, kids are home. That's great. And that is a beautiful thing. The minute they walk through the door, you get that alert, and that you can even chat with them, right? A little two-way talk feature lets you greet and chat with them right there from your smartphone. Blink cameras are wire-free. They set up in a minute and run on 2 lithium batteries for up to 2 years. You got no monthly contracts. And right now, through Labor Day, you could save up to 20% with Blink's back-to-school sale. Thanks to Blink. Guess what, kids? Back-to-school security just got easier. Visit blinkprotect.com/sale. That's blinkprotect.com/sale. blinkprotect.com/sale. Blink is an Amazon company, and it works with Alexa. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Yep. Check out the Twitter, kids. That's where the youth of America go, and other people as well. Want to hear from you. What do you think? Are we headed to a recession or not? Do you feel like that? 13% say yes. Yes, we are. 13%? It's not too bad. But 52% say no. But here's the thing. 28% of people say, not yet, but we are slowing down. And 8% said not sure. And when they broke down, when they talked to all these economists, right, and there was a ton of economists, 74% of them believe that if we are going into recession, it will probably be the latter part of 2020, if not the early part to middle of 2021. So we're still a ways away. And again, that's still 74%. And who knows? Because along the way, we can do something that potentially may help us weather it. But we're also dealing with a global economy that could see us slow down. And once again, weathering the storm is the most important part. You ask a boxer, you ask anybody who plays sports, the thing that you have to do, and they'll always tell you, is at some point in time, somebody's going to make a run at you, somebody's going to hit you, somebody's going to do something. It is how you react to that will change everything. And we'll see how we react to that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right, what's trending? Number one, Lauren Hashan. You guys know who that is? Anybody? That is the new Mrs. Rock. They've been together for a while. Obviously, she's a looker, right? You would think so, right? So she's a looker. So they got married yesterday. Number two, Manchester United. 3, Eric Gardner. And these are daily searches, real-time searches right now on the Google. What are people looking at? Past 24 hours. Popeye, Chick-fil-A are in a battle of whose sandwich is better. I will tell you this. I like Chick-fil-A. I've never eaten at Popeyes. I know it's weird. I've just never eaten there, so I don't know. But I'm going to throw something out there. I'm going to throw a wrinkle into this bad dog. Last week when Jack was here, we went to Arby's. It was late. I know we shouldn't have done that, but we went to my soccer game, and I was throwing out stuff because he was hungry again. And I said, Arby goes, oh, Dad, let's go there. They had Phil, now you may enjoy this. They had a chicken sandwich. It was barbecue. It tastes kind of like orange chicken on a Hawaiian roll. One of those amazing Hawaiian rolls. Oh, sweet man. It was like candy. It was
Sounds great.
Oh, God, it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. On the old Twitter, what's trending there? Well, kids, what do you think? You never know with Twitter. Susan Sarandon, because she's out for Bernie, and she made fun of not only is Elizabeth Warren having to apologize for pretending to be an Indian. Apparently, she's also, according to Susan Sarandon, although she didn't use her by name, said, and Bernie is the same person he used to be. He didn't used to be registered a Republican. Boston Market, Bojangles, and Planned Parenthood are trending there. Those are the things that are trending in these here United States of America. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Sally Pipes is going to join us. She's brilliant. She knows everything you need to know about single payer. She's got a great book out. We're going to talk about that. But also, we're going to talk about this whole thought process that we're going to do something where we can start purchasing drugs from Canada. Not only what it will do to Canada, but why do we pay so much comparatively to the rest of the globe? I've been telling you this, but she's going to break it down for you in a brilliant, smart way. And I tell you what, she's worth a read, too. Guys, if you've never read anything from Sally Pipes, you check out the things that she read, including her book. It is absolutely amazing. We're going to touch on that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter and Instagram. I grammed earlier, by the way. I don't know how you check out what's trending on Instagram, because it's so easy to find out, but it's more about what you search for, I guess, on the Instagram, right? So I don't know if they have a trending on Instagram. That's how far I have fallen in the world of social media. I do not know or understand some of these things. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Sally Pipes, straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Love having her on the show. Smart people say smart things. You know, we always joke about it here. Play a stupid game, win a stupid prize. With her, it's the exact opposite. She's smart, and the prize is you guys are going to get some knowledge right now. Joining us is Sally Pipes, President, Chief Executive Officer of Pacific Research Institute, and she's the title author and the author of the book, The False Promise of Single-Payer Healthcare. And one of the things I want to touch on today, Sally, is we're trying to figure out how in God's name are we going to do these things when it comes to prescription drugs, because the reality is we're kind of fronting the rest of the world on their cheap drugs, and I don't think people understand that. And now we're trying to make it cheaper for us, and the thought is, hey, we'll go to Canada because it's Canada, and we'll get drugs cheaper there. But let's slow down, because there is potentially some problems there.
Well, exactly. And, you know, it's interesting. President Trump has said since June that he's going to be introducing his fabulous new healthcare plan in July, and then it was August, now it's September. And one of the things he's talking about including in there is an international price index where drug prices for specialized drugs for patients, Medicare patients delivered in a doctor's office or a hospital would be subject to the price of the basket of drugs from 12 countries. So that is a very frightening thing. On the other hand, the announcement by President Trump that, drugs, that they're going to be working to import drugs from Canada. And we've already seen in Florida, Republican Governor DeSantis signed a bill allowing for drugs to be imported from Canada. We don't know when. And also in Colorado, the Democratic Governor Polis has signed a bill saying we'll import drugs from Canada. But, as you mentioned, Canada is a small country. I'm Canadian, 37 million people. And this is absolutely ridiculous that wholesalers, pharmacies would be able to import drugs from Canada. And I'm so delighted that the Canadian officials are now saying, hey, hold it. With 37 million people, we don't have enough of the brand named and generic drugs that are reliable from pharmaceutical companies. We don't have enough for our own people. And in fact, if this were to happen and the U.S. were to approve importing drugs from Canada, in 200 days, the Canadians would be out of drugs. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. And then you have on top of the fact the supply issue. Then you have the counterfeit issue, which we've seen in many cases. And of course, there was a case where there were some cancer drugs that were bought on the internet by Americans from Canada, from the Canadian Canadian Internet Pharmacy, and they were actually, they weren't anything. They weren't the cancer drugs at all. And so, you have to be so worried about counterfeit, because so many of these drugs that have come in the past have been ones that were manufactured in India and Pakistan and China, not, re-imported drugs from Canada, from pharmaceutical companies.
Talking to Sally Pipes, who is the CEO and president of Pacific Research Institute, and the book, The False Promise of Single-Payer Healthcare. She's the author of that book, which is an amazing book. And I tell everybody, just go find it, read it, understand it before you make any kind of decisions. We need this, that, and the other. And one of the things that I get a lot of people that ask me, and I've been you're from Canada. I lived in Europe for 10 years. It's a different world over there when it comes to socialized medicine and things of that nature. It's not, everything's not as it seems. It has some good. It has some bad. But, try to explain to the listener out there, why is it that drugs here are so much more expensive comparatively to places like Australia, comparatively to places like Canada and elsewhere?
Well, it's because we are, the United States is the research and development arm for all of the new drugs, whether they're coming from a company like GlaxoSmithKline that's British, or a company like Roche, or, all of these, Sanofi, the French company. But the United States is where all of the manufacturing R&D is done, and it costs about $2.6 billion to develop and bring a new drug to market. And just under 12% of drugs that enter clinical development actually never get get regulatory approval. So countries like Canada and Great Britain and France all have price controls. So the United States, the pharmacies in the U.S. sell their drugs to a country like Canada at a lower price, at the price-controlled price, and those countries are free riding off our R&D. And it's just, what should really happen is that these countries should get rid of their price controls. They would probably have more research and development done in these countries, and it would mean that their Canadians and Brits would have to buy the drugs at the price like that we pay, and it would reduce the price for our drugs because there would be more competition. And so this is what needs to be done. Unfortunately, it's a very tough slog to get these countries to remove their price controls. The other thing is that a lot of the new drugs that are available here, for the biologics, the CAR-T, the immunology drugs, these drugs don't even make it onto the formularies in a country like Canada because there's the Therapeutic Practices Review Board that decides whether even at a price-controlled price, these drugs are still too expensive. So Canadians actually, in many cases, don't have access to the drugs that we consider that are so important to, ending different types of cancers, working heart, stroke, all of this. So not only, our price control is a bad deal, and we're bearing the burden of the total cost, but the drugs are developed here. And as I say, price controls allow them to be cheaper in these countries, but many aren't even available.
Yeah, and I don't think people really understand that we are kind of basically, footing the bill for the rest of the world. We're doing all the hard work, we're doing all the legwork, we're doing all the heavy lifting, and they're getting the benefits of it. And in doing so, we're paying the price, the average consumer here. So, Sally, what can we do? I mean, you look around, you look out there, you understand this. You got your book, which is amazing. You get this is what you do for a living. If we can take a bit of what is the rest of the world, because there is good. I love, in some of the areas over there. I talked about the British medicine in the system over there. I always say, look, if you've got a broken arm, it's a great place to be. If you got cancer or a heart attack, you want to be here in America. So how do we meld the two together so it is a win-win?
Well, I mean, I think the big issue is educating the public on what single-payer Medicare for all means, what the truth is about the research and development of new drugs and treatments that take place in this country, not in these other countries. But it's so important. I mean, when you look at the polling, the Kaiser Family Foundation polling on single payer, 51% in their July poll said they supported single payer Medicare for all. But when you say, well, the 180 million Americans who have employer-sponsored coverage, you're going to lose their coverage. People are like, no, that's for other people, not for me. Then that support goes down to 37%. The same when they're told, well, you're going to have to, whether it's Bernie's plan, he's already admitted his plan would cost $30 to $40 trillion over 10 years. Then when people say, well, you're going to have, when the pollsters say you're going to have higher taxes, newer taxes, care will be rationed, long waits, support also drops to 37%. So the American people think Medicare for all, it sounds like a great idea. It's free. If Canada and Britain has cheaper drugs, that's terrific. We need cheaper drugs, but they need to understand what these systems mean for them and their health care.
Talking to Sally Pipes, President and Chief Executive Officer at Pacific Research Institute, author of The False Promise of Single-Payer Healthcare. Finland, there's a great piece on CNN, actually, talking about the dark underside of what happens when you start running out of taxpayers to foot the bill. As they get older, they don't have any taxpayers. They're not replacing the people that are retiring and or dying in Finland. And I think a lot of the West is looking at kind of the similar thing. We're not replenishing like for like, or even the way we should be doing it, which is a couple people moving into the marketplace and as one or two people move out. And that's a big issue there that they're having. And I see it around the rest of the globe, that as we're not producing taxpayers, if you will, and we're not having children like we used to, it is going to start to cause a problem because things are going to go up and stuff's going to be rationed.
Well, exactly. Care will be rationed. The elderly will be the first people who are denied care, as in the case of my own mother in Canada, who was denied a colonoscopy because there were younger people. She was a senior, younger people, on the waiting list for colonoscopies who had, had symptoms. And so, this is care will be rationed. In the UK, with 4 million people on the waiting list in May, the National Health Service said we're going to ban cataract surgery for seniors because, it's of limited clinical value. What would Americans say if, a lot of people are still working, they have active lives when they're over 65, and if the government under the single-payer healthcare system, if Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren senators became president and they brought in their single-payer, what would the American people, there'd be a rebellion. Brits, as you know, Chad, Brits and Canadians are very nice. They don't, stand up and scream and yell like Americans. But, this is the truth of the matter, that care will be denied. And in a country like Finland, which is a small country with a homogenous population, and they're having serious problems because there aren't enough people, as you say, to provide the tax revenue to provide further support for such a system. And these systems all have waits and ration care and doctor shortages. And in the U.S., if Bernie Sanders or Warren became the president, they have said that doctors would be paid at Medicare rates, which are 40% below what private insurers pay to doctors. Hospitals would get a lot lower reimbursements. And so, a lot of docs would retire early, as we've already seen from the work done by the American Association of Medical Colleges. And last, the best and brightest kids in this country have traditionally been the ones who go into medicine. If they think that their salaries are going to be tied to Medicare rates, they're basically going to be union members. The system will not be merit-based, where you may be the best neurosurgeon, I'm the worst, we get paid the same. This is going to destroy the incentive for the best and brightest to go into medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be interesting to see what happens as we move forward. Always love having you on. Your knowledge is vast and amazing. Sally Pipes, President and Chief Executive Officer, Pacific Research Institute. Grab the book, The False Promise of Single-Payer Healthcare. Sally, as always, love having you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Chad. Bye.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Long slog. We're going to have to figure this thing out. It's going to get ugly. At some point in time, something's got to give. Is there a happy medium? Is there a public-private option? How does that actually work? Some people might be fine making $100,000 a year if they got free college paid for to be a doctor, or $120,000 a year. Others who have hundreds and thousands of dollars in student loans that they're still paying off, and they've got massive, huge debt that they've built up doing other things, and they've got a lifestyle that's used to $300,000 or $400,000 a year. How do you tell them you're going to go down to $120,000 or $150,000 a year and then be okay with it? There's a lot of things. America does a lot of the heavy lifting, and I don't think people really understand that. And that's something that people need to start actually paying attention to when it comes to things like drugs, pricing, all kinds of stuff. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Weight Watchers, now called WW, says its new Curbo app is a fun and engaging way for kids between the ages of 8 and 17 to learn the basics of healthy eating. The company says it's not about losing weight, it's about being healthier. Critics say it's all about weight loss, and putting too much focus on that can be unhealthy for kids. While childhood obesity is a real problem in this country, they say so are eating disorders and yo-yo dieting, both of which can lead to a whole set of other problems, especially for children. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There's a lot of things on the interwebs that probably aren't great for kids. Healthy eating thing, I don't really worry too much about. Right? Childhood, I've said it last week. Right? We were talking about, when we were going over the numbers of the people who were killed in mass shootings and things like that you're more apt to die from what? The hamburger that you don't put down, the inactivity in your life, smoking, all of those things. So, yeah, why not address it? If it's something that's going to teach you healthy eating. Well, yo-yo diets. You don't think kids are going to pick that up? You don't think so? Kids are my son, right? So Jack was here, and he hasn't done a lot this summer. He's hung out, swam a little bit, and, he's put on a few pounds. He's also had this growth spurt. He looks like he's going to be huge. He's built kind of like me, but he's going to be tall. His mom's side of the family is extremely tall, and the doctor's like, he's going to be 6'2"-ish. And, you know, he's all of a sudden, boom, he's got shoulders and stuff, even though he's only 9. But he's cognizant of I feel like I put on weight. You're like, oh, like kids are going to get it. They're going to do it. Right? Do I think it's bad? No, I don't. But Weight Watchers got hammered for it. How dare you do something like this? I'm like, was it that bad? I didn't think they did anything that bad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So I'm sitting here and I'm going over a bunch of text messages, people talking about the economy, and everybody. It's interesting. The people that, you know, there's a lot of Trump supporters out there that, quite frankly, they're not going to listen to anything anybody has to say. They're sold for Trump, and it means nothing to you know, if you say, hey, look, you know, 70, oh, they're all liars. The Fox poll, oh, they're all liars. You're a scumbag. You're a piece of crap, Chad. You're turning yourself on the president. And I just sit there and I'm like, this is the problem we have in this tribalism world that we live in, is we're not willing to sit back and say, well, I'm looking at numbers, and you're old enough to remember that we've been through several recessions. You know, in my lifetime, 48, I've been through several recessions. Some worse than others. Some you didn't recognize because it was more of a speed bump than a recession. Some of them we went off a cliff, right? We survived, but it's amazing, and it's so funny that the way that, like, even today I posted something on Facebook and I got attacked, and it's like, you're fake news and you're a liar and you're all of these things. It's like people. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on anymore. They're just not willing to listen. They don't care what you have to say. They don't care about any of the data you have. It is all about stories. It is all about telling stories. And it is all about just going out there and reaffirming your belief in certain things. That's it. They don't care about anything other than that. They don't. Just like, this is my belief. This is what it is. And they buy it. Like, you know, Trump came out and said Google, you know, influenced the election and changed votes and stuff. There's no fact in any of that. But you say that to some people and that you're a liar. You're a liar. You hate the president. You're un-American. You're just like, you can't have a conversation with that. I told Jack over the weekend, said, don't argue with stupid people. Don't ever waste your breath arguing with stupid people or people that are narrow-minded, right? No matter what side of the political spectrum they're on or whatever they believe, because you are going to be wasting your breath. If you're going to actually have a debate with somebody and a conversation with somebody, make sure it's somebody who intellectually gets it and is bright, because the worst case scenario is you're going to maybe lose the argument that you came into it with or vice versa, but you're going to learn something through it. I think we all need to take more of that tone. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at me, text at me, your love, your hate, whatever it is, kids. I'm right here. I'll take it. But let's at least try to be kind-ish. My goodness me. I'm amazed. Again, when nobody's in front of you to get in your face, people are willing to say just about anything. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
25-year-old Tristan Wicks of Daytona Beach taken into custody on Friday. Local police later getting a search warrant saying they recovered a hunting rifle and 400 rounds of ammunition from his home. Authorities saying they were first tipped off by Wicks' ex-girlfriend after he sent detailed text messages.
Yeah, kooks. So 3 over the weekend. You had 1 in Connecticut, and you had this Tristan Wicks clown who is just a nut job.
Clearly, this is a person that fits the profile of what an active shooter is. 24 years old, lost his girlfriend, lost his job, has no money, and is fascinated and studies the last big active killers that we've had in our country.
Wait a minute here. Has no money, has no job, has no girlfriend, pissed off and angry at the world. What? What? All the red flag laws we can put out there, and I spoke earlier to Congressman Andy Biggs, all the red flag laws wouldn't have stopped anything that took place. Probably won't stop anything at all, right? What it may do is prevent certain domestic situations, which is always something good to look at, but also could be used in a way that isn't good, and people will use that if they know they can use it. Saying, hey, we're going through a custody battle. He said this or he said that, and we can get a temporary something, take somebody's guns away, take somebody and put them in a situation where they have to fight with and have their stuff seized without any due process. We do that. And everybody's like, well, we should pass tougher gun laws. Well, what do we do? Here's the reality. The guy that killed the cop last week, right? The guy in Ohio, right? I'm not going to use their names. They're all going to figure out a way to get what they want. Yet we're not talking about, we're once again looking at the gun. We're once again looking at the bullet. We're once again looking at the damage they do and saying if we had tougher laws, people who are legally abiding by the laws, they would suffer. But these people, well, we're not addressing their issue, which is what? They're pissed off and angry at the world.
We're seeing an increase in acts of targeted violence, mass casualty attacks by disaffected, mentally unwell individuals who spend a lot of time online. They self-connect with a cause or they self-connect with some grievance, and they use that as the excuse to conduct a mass casualty attack. What we're also seeing, though, is a dramatic increase in public displays of far-right and, in particular, white supremacist individuals.
Yeah, and they're not, and to be honest with you, I doubt they're even really white supremacists. They just found a group that will listen to them and pay attention to them. Some of them may be, but what they really are is pissed off young men who are angry at the world. That's what they are. They're looking for something. They're grasping at something. Has no money, has no job, has no girlfriend, world's been mean to me, so I'm going to take it out. And by taking it out on other people, this is going to somehow make me feel better.
These people who used to live in the shadows are now coming out publicly. They're engaging in public protests, but they're also engaging in acts of violence in furtherance of this white supremacist ideology.
And I look at that and I think, yeah, there are people out there that are louder and they're obnoxious and they're living in a dreamland world. And there are not as many of them as used to be, but they are bolder than they used to be. But these people that are committing acts, these men, very few of them are doing it for political reasons. Very few of them are doing it for reasons other than they're a bunch of losers. And they're pissed at the world. And when you're pissed at the world and you're angry at the world, you're going to take it out on the world because it's going to give you the opportunity to feel like you've got yourself a little bit of power, right? A little bit of power. Because I got to make sure the world knows that I'm not a nothing. You are a nothing. You're a loser with a big L. And you've chosen to stay that way. You have. So we can red flag laws all day long. We can do all of these things. If we're going to get serious about this stuff, we need to address it across the board. Across the board on how we go about looking, identifying, and finding these kids who are falling through. And the way that they get recruited is what? They're angry, they're pissed off, they're disenfranchised. How do people probably don't have a decent father figure in their life? Probably have very little. I mean, we go back and we talked about it before. What is it? Out of the 8 people or more who were shot, 25 of 26 of the shootings were done by people who didn't have fathers in their homes, right? You go look at gangs. How do gangs recruit? Very rarely are you going to find a gang that's got a guy in the gang whose life is in their families all together. Very, very rarely. Go over and look at ISIS. What are they looking for? Disenfranchised people that they can lie to get them to do certain things because they're looking for something. Al-Qaeda, doesn't matter, whatever it is. We've got an issue. We need to address it. Will we address it for real? Probably not. Right? Because if we do anything, and it's a big if, it'll be thrown together to make everybody feel good like something's getting done, and then it really won't get done the way it should be. And we won't be dealing with it the way we should be. There you go. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. The economy going good, going bad, kind of going medium. Which way do you think it's going?
Donald Trump has had one powerful and faithful ally, the economy. More than anything else, he has counted on the economy to help overcome doubts about his style and carry him to re-election. But that ally may be deserting him. This week's stock market tumble, 800 points on Wednesday, was not entirely Mr. Trump's doing, but the drop can be tied to the uncertainty that has been caused by the trade war Mr. Trump has launched against China. The question for the president, will his supporters, who have either embraced or simply accepted so much of his norm-breaking presidency, be as forgiving of all of those breaking of norms if the economy falters?
Yeah, that's a question. I think some of them will. There's a certain amount of the base that will blame it on anything but him. Doesn't matter what he does. They will not blame it on him. But most of us, we look and we say, you know what? You're the guy in the seat, right? That's the seat. And the seat can sometimes get hot. And if something goes south and you're driving this thing, we're going to blame it on you. Just like you do in sports or businesses or companies, whatever it is. You may get a honeymoon period, of which, let's be real, Trump really didn't get any honeymoon period at all. And when things were going well, the establishment media never really gave him any credit. And the minute it starts to really kind of falter or potentially has a slowdown, they're going to jump all over that. And I think in some ways we're talking ourselves into it. But 74% of economists say that, by 2021, middle of the year, towards the end of the year, we could see a potential slowdown. Is it going to happen soon? I do not believe it is going to happen soon. But the potential for it to happen is very real. Very, very real. Because we live in a world where there are certain cycles that take place, right? And eventually we will see a slowdown in the economy. We will see a retraction in the economy. We will see a recession. How do we weather the recession is the question that a lot of people have. That's a question I have. Are we going to look like 2008 or are we going to be something different where we have a quarter of two where we slow down, maybe retract a little bit, and then all of a sudden we pick it up and we go again? And that's when we talked about the last recession, that great recession, it seemed like we sputtered along, right? We got our feet back, but we never really took off. It took a while to really get that kind of momentum, but we've had unprecedented growth. Let's be real. You got to give credit where credit is due. So we'll see what takes place. We will. Jay-Z is hearing it. If you guys didn't know, Jay-Z did a partnership last week with the NFL, and now people are pissed and angry at Jay-Z, people you wouldn't think. And now he's got Rock Nation. Rock Nation has in its group a sports agency, and he represents the likes of Colin Kaepernick and many others. And this thing that this partnership they've put together is supposed to be about social justice and music acts and things like that. And he came out last week and he and Goodell had this impromptu kind of press conference and stuff and talked about not kneeling and all of these things. And that thing's passed us. And not everybody's thrilled by this.
Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick seeming to throw shade at the biggest name in hip-hop after Jay-Z's recent press conference with the NFL.
I think we passed kneeling. I think it's time to go into actionable items.
Kaepernick, who sparked controversy for taking a knee during the national anthem, hoping, he says, to draw attention to police brutality and racial injustice, pointing out players who continue to kneel in protest. Writing on Instagram, they have never moved past the people and continue to put their beliefs into action.
Yeah, and people are asking the question, well, what's going on here? Like, what's going on? You here you are standing up for Colin Kaepernick, and there's this big conversation. My conversation with Cap is this, that, and the other. Well, more and more players are coming out. And again, this is Jay-Z, right? These guys all look up to Jay-Z. They all love Jay-Z, right? Not just because of his music. And, somebody sent me a tweet that he did last year. It was great. He goes, I'm not a businessman. I'm a business man. And that shows. Because now, apparently, and remember, it is an old boys club, the NFL. It is tough. You have a lot of money. Doesn't mean you're going to be allowed into the club. Apparently, Jay-Z is going to be taking a potentially majority ownership in an NFL team. And I have a feeling you got to realize, man, you want to get to that level. You may have to play the game because you want to be a part of that. You want to be owning a club and the opportunity to own a franchise. There's 32 franchises, probably only 40 owners, maybe 50 owners if you count some minority owners and some people have smaller shares in the entire world. And it looks like he may play with the NFL in doing some things that may make it easier and smooth it out, because just because you have the money and somebody says, I will sell it to you, doesn't mean the other 31 guys are going to go, yeah, we're okay with that. I mean, for years, Mark Cuban, here's a perfect example, tried to buy the Chicago Cubs, and they kept telling him, no, we don't want you over here. We don't care if you have the money. We don't care if you have all the money in the world. We don't. We're not going to approve you. We don't want you. We don't think you fit our game. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us about a poll question up today. It is about the economy. Do you think we're headed towards a recession? Do you think we're slowing down? Do you think now we're not in any kind of recession worries at all? What do you think? 14% say yeah, you think we're headed there. 50% say no. 28% says not yet, but slowing down, and 8% says not sure. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can also text me directly, 323-538-2423, 323-538-2423. MyPillow is amazing. It is incredible, and they're doing something amazing for my listeners. Mike Lindell has been awesome, and he's the inventor, CEO of MyPillow, and he wants to say thank you. And we talked about this. One of the things that he talked about was like, what can we do? I said, well, let's give him huge deals like that you're never going to get anywhere else. And he said, okay, how about up to 50% off MyPillows, mattresses, bed toppers, the bed sheets, anything. And boom, there it is. So you're getting up to 50% off everything right now, right? And here's the great thing. They've got a MyPillow body pillow. I was talking to somebody today. Normally it's $90. Now it's $29.99 with the promo code Benson. You get a 60-day money-back guarantee, a 10-year warranty, free shipping. What are you waiting for? Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, or call 800-983-4975. You're going to save up to 50%, including the body pillow, for only $29.99. Enter the promo code Benson to get these great listener specials for the best night's sleep. Call 800-983-4975. Visit MyPillow.com. Remember to use the promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Well, and guess who just blasted, really, Jay-Z for this partnership? It's Colin Kaepernick's girlfriend, and she really laid it out. She said, how can Jay-Z and the NFL utter social justice in their partnership while keeping Colin unemployed because of his social justice work? She goes on. What is disgusting and disappointing is Jay-Z let them use him.
No. Her name is Nessa, and you guys remember a few years ago when the Colin Kaepernick was just out of the league for a year. So remember, Colin opted out of the contract. He had a contract where he was guaranteed another year of play. It was his player contract option, and he opted out because he thought he'd go out on the free market and test the free agency side. And everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to stay away from him. But she got into the middle of something with the owner of I believe it was the Baltimore Ravens, when they were thinking about bringing him in, and that blew up, and they said, no, we're going to take a pass. So, look, somebody just texted, I forgot, remember, Trump wanted to buy the Buffalo Bills. NFL didn't want him. It's an exclusive club. It really is. And this is an opportunity for Jay-Z to get into it. Look, he's a businessman. And he's going to take it. He is. And he even said, oh, man, we're all focusing on the fact that Colin doesn't have a job. And Colin wants to play in the NFL. Somebody asked me the other day, do you think he deserves a shot? I said, I'd have brought him into a camp. See what he can do. And I would tell him, look, like I tell everybody else, you become a massive distraction. Sorry. You become a distraction. I don't care who it is. If you're a distraction, we're not going to have that. You want to come here and play football and show that you can play football? Great. Fantastic. You want to use your platform when you're in the locker room and elsewhere? Fine, to a certain extent. But this is what it is. You know, I got to deal with 53 plus individuals who want to have their time and their thing. Right? Today they went after, Antonio Brown because of his damn helmet. Raiders finally said, dude, you're going to show up and you're going to either be in or you're going to be out. This has nothing to do with social justice. It has to do with the fact that he's had the same helmet since he was like a 3-year-old and he wants to wear it. And they're over it. They don't care. They're about winning, all of these guys. And if he gave you a shot to win, yeah, I'd bring him in. But that's a big if. That is a big if, indeed. So we'll see. We'll see if he ever gets a chance again. I think is it the XFL? I think they'll give him a chance. I think they will. And who knows? Maybe he's got some, look, he still has some game, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. It hasn't been hit. I think players find out you've been out for a while and you haven't been hit. You find out that's like, whoa, things have changed, even in a year or two. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I love this. So millennials have their language, and we do the urban word of the day here and stuff like that. So now Gen Z has their language, and it's kind of they're things that they say, they're phrases. And I was looking at some of them. I've heard Jack use a few of these, a couple. I'm not quite sure I know all of what they're saying, right? We need like a Google Translate. Maybe we'll get that. Touch a little bit more about the economy. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show. That there, kids, is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Does anybody know what I am low-key mad right now means? Anybody? This world that we live in is amazing. There's a funny article, Daily Mail, about Gen Z. We're trying to figure out who's Gen Z. So the millennials, Gen Z. So Gen Z is defined as, I guess it would be my son's age group. So often, Generation Z, often abbreviated as Gen Z, the demographic cohort after the millennials. So typically mid-90s to early 2000 birth years. So this is some of the slang that the kids are using nowadays. And I was sitting there, like, some of it we've had on we've done before on our urban word of the day, but you're a snack? That person is extra? Oh my God, I'm dead? Right? That girl is snatched. Can you hop off, please? The game is rough. That means life. So the game is life. That's all. They just change a word. It's the game. Right? When they say, can you hop off, please? Can you mind your own business? Gucci means good. Jack uses that. I just laugh. I'm like, and then I laugh too at some of the rapping names. I'm like, I just feel like they're at the point where they just go find like just great designers. They just take their names and throw an X or a Lil there. Right? What's up, Lil Halston? What up, little Versace? Why is nobody medium? I was always asking, why is nobody medium? Right? There's enough Lil. If you were medium, people are like, I kind of like that. Right? I'm medium. I'm medium large. Schmedium. What's up, Schmedium? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Economy, good, bad, or indifferent. What say you? You going to stick with Trump if the economy goes to hell in a handbasket, which is always a possibility? We've got a poll question up today. Good majority of you don't feel the economy is struggling, but you do think that in the coming months, and by months, I mean the next year or two, that we're going to have some struggle there. And you got a lot of people out there that are hoping for it. A lot of, Democrats are hoping for it, which I was just, again, I find it to be absolutely amazing. Trump out today talking about the fact that slow your roll.
Honestly, I'm prepared for everything. I don't think we're having a recession. We're doing tremendously well. Our consumers are rich. I gave a tremendous tax cut, and they're loaded up with money.
I don't know if they're loaded up with money. I don't think that is the reality of it, right? I don't think they're loaded up with money. I think the tax breaks gave you the initial oomph that you needed, right? A little bit of the stimulus, and it worked. But you've got some issues with the Fed, of which you very little that you can do about it, and you bitch about it, and you're stuck between a rock and a hard place there. And now it's one of those things where, what exactly do you think is going to happen? And it'll be interesting. You've got the likes of Beto.
The markets are signaling that we're heading for recession. One person to blame for that, Donald Trump. We got to replace him in office if we're going to get this economy back on track.
And what exactly does that mean? For a lot of them out there, I want to see what you guys talk about, what you're going to do with the economy. What are you going to do? Because I hear a lot of stuff like, I'm going to tax you. I'm going to tax you. I'm going to double tax you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to roll this back. I'm going to put a ton of regulations on. That is not a signal that you're going to make the economy rock and roll. Now, will you bring some stability potentially back and less chaos? I think so, right? Because I think it's not just whether or not Trump's chaotic. As I continue to point out to people, it is also a situation where the media and the coverage will be much different. And we take I think a lot of times we forget how that is insane as far as the way that this thing is handled. But is there a recession on the horizon? I don't think anytime in the near future. But I think within the next 18 months or so, we could see definitely a slowdown.
I don't know if there's a recession on the horizon, but certainly the risks of a recession have gone up quite dramatically for 2020. And more importantly, what we did was essentially stick our foot out to China as they were already stumbling with the trade war. China's economy has been weak, and it is continuing to weaken. It's not just the trade war, but the trade war is exacerbating it.
Yeah, it is absolutely exacerbating it. It is pushing it, is making things uncomfortable for them. And as that continues to happen, it is going to be very interesting to see the way that this thing rolls out continuingly. How long can they continue this right now, this trade war? What are they willing to do? Because on top of all of that, they're also fighting an issue in Hong Kong that is, and that's Diane Swonk. She's a microeconomist. She gets it. She's an understanding of what's happening. And I just feel like that you're fighting almost two different wars on two different situations. You've got a trade war, or whatever you want to call it, what's going on with us. You've got everybody looking at you potentially and what could happen in Hong Kong. And if that thing goes south, you may be fighting sanctions on top of trade wars. So it's definitely behooves the people in Hong Kong to continue to push the envelope with the Chinese. Because if the Chinese economy goes to hell in a handbasket, there's going to be more than a ripple effect. In some places, it'll be a tsunami. But in saying all of that, Hong Kong may see this as their opportunity, and it could get ugly for all of us. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Beijing at this point in time realizes there's a lot more cameras, there's a lot more to deal with in Hong Kong than what they went through with Tiananmen Square. And they realize, too, now that they're part of the world economy, how bad that could be for them. And what's it like being in a situation where 1 billion plus people are financially struggling and you're trying to feed all of them and you've taken away all of their freedoms and they've had a taste of it? That could be ugly inside. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Dress codes. Kids are heading back to school. And I saw this and I thought to myself, God, it's crazy. But the thing that I found crazy about this is the way they perceive boys.
I had issues with my shoulders being out before. Chloe Lynch is wearing a hooded sweatshirt today after she says she, along with dozens of other girls at Glenbard East High School, were told they were violating the school's dress code policy during lunch yesterday.
I guess they have a podium in the lunchroom that they sit at, and they announced that they had these lovely new shirts and they were going to be dress code violating anybody they felt wasn't appropriately dressed.
I was told that I should cover up because boys were looking at me.
Okay, so boys were looking at you, right? And it's funny. So who said it? Did the girl say it or did the teacher say it? And it's another one of those things where when I listen to this, I took away from it. You think, like, everybody thinks that all young, do 16, 17, 18-year-old, 15-year-old boys think about sex. Yeah, of course we do. We're guys, for God's sakes. And we're going through this emotional craziness with our hormones battling each other out and things are smashing it. Oh, my God, of course we do. Hell, do 40-year-old men think of it? Yeah. But it's so funny the way that the teachers kind of explain this to the kids and the boys are looking at you like, what did you think the boys were going to do? I'm just, this is back to that whole thing that toxic masculinity and evil. So we have to protect these women because boys can't stop themselves.
The school's dress code does say clothing considered to be revealing and does not adequately cover the front, back, side, shoulders, or midriff is prohibited on males and females. Parents say when it comes to girls' shoulders showing, it's never been enforced before.
This isn't like years past. This is a totally different year. What my daughter was able to wear last year, she would get dress coded for this year, and there was no warning.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I feel like as a boy, right? Because we all went to school. We all had pretty girls at school, right? Good-looking dudes. They wore some stuff that you're like, oh, that looks good, man. But it's so funny as I listen to this and the way that they talk about it, they make it out to be that every boy that looks at a girl who's pretty, like you could, look, let's be honest, just for a second. Right? Producer Phil, you back me up on this. There are some people, you could put a sackcloth on, and they're still going to rock it and make it look hot.
Oh, absolutely they will.
Yeah. So, and there's some people you could put in anything you want, and it doesn't matter. So guys are still going to be looking, and people are like, oh, my God, is she wearing a burlap sack? Oh, she's so hot. I like burlap sacks. I'm thinking, she's so hot. But they don't act on it. They just think she's hot, right? They just think she's beautiful. They just think she's pretty, right? It's crazy. But as I'm listening and watching this thing break down, I'm thinking to myself, that's what I was talking about earlier with my son Jack. I just think sometimes, my God, I would never want to be young nowadays. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't want to be young at all, even though they got all this cool stuff, right? Like Jack looks at me and how I used to live my life as a kid. And in some ways he's like, oh my God, you used to be able to go outside by yourself, without having to worry about stranger danger. I'm like, we worried about it, but we didn't care. It wouldn't stop us. Mom would be just like, hey, if a guy in a van says he's got a puppy, he doesn't. And you're like, okay, that was it, right? Stranger danger. Nowadays it's totally different, right? Now it's like, you got to be afraid of everything. But he looks at me, though, with all the stuff he has as, like when we go on trips now, he's got like computer and he's got his iPad and he's watching stuff and YouTube and the whole 9 yards. And he looks at us like we used to look at Little House on the Prairie, right? Like, how do those people live? They didn't have 14 channels or Atari. It's just impossible. But I still wouldn't change it. I wouldn't, just because I look at them and I think, God, the stuff that these people are going through, the wackiness and the way that everything is gender this and gender that, and everything is toxic masculinity, and it's all of this stuff. Oh God, I don't wish that on anybody. I do not. And I think to myself as a father, what's it going to be like when he is in college? What's that going to look like today? Because look how fast we're moving into this craziness in our college campuses. What does that world look like to him nowadays? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Wounded Paw, an amazing organization I've been working with for a while. And I want you to go to woundedpawproject.org and just see the work they do with our veterans, first responders, and their families, and these animals, these dogs they rescue. They're shelter dogs. They turn them into service dogs. It's the most amazing thing because they're told you can't rescue a dog and turn it into a service dog. There'll always be a shelter dog. And they're like, no, we can do this, and we do it. And they recognize the need that was out there to help our first responders, veterans, and their families. And they pair them up, and what it does for both of them is truly some of the most amazing things. But it is expensive, and they need your help. RV, truck, whatever you have. If it flies or floats, they'll take it, even if it doesn't drive, right? They'll come pick it up. You're going to get a great tax-deductible gift, and it's going to go a long way into saving a paw to save a life. That's what they call it. They also take cash, but they need your help. Check it out for yourself at woundedpawproject.org or go to 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729 or woundedpawproject.org. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
It's just something we talked about. Denmark essentially owns it. We're very good allies with Denmark. We protect Denmark like we protect large portions of the world.
But are we going to buy Greenland? No, we're not going to buy Greenland. It's so funny, though. People are asking the question, he talked about it. It says could be just like a big real estate deal. Strategically, there's some good stuff there. We can do some strategery there, which may be good, may not be good. I don't know. We'll find out. Little strategery, right? I don't know how the people there would feel about being U.S. citizens. Probably treat you a little bit like Puerto Rico or Guam. But a little strategery right there. And yes, we do protect a lot of nations. We do protect. I just want everybody to understand what goes into the things that we do around the globe. We protect a lot of nations. I'm just throwing it out there. Sometimes I think we forget about all the things that we do while we're busy bashing the United States of America and all of the stuff and how expensive it is here and this, that, and the other. There's a lot of things that go on that we do that people don't see that allow countries like Denmark and the Scandinavians to not have to spend that much money on the military because we got their back.
Making shareholders money is no longer the sole purpose of corporations. That from the Business Roundtable, a meeting of CEOs of nearly 200 of the largest corporations in the U.S., redefining what a corporation is all about. The CEOs, led by J.P. Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon, signing a statement supporting investment in employees, ethical corporate behavior, and working with outside communities. The statement affirming that shareholders should not come before all stakeholders, including employees, customers, and society.
Oh, that sounds nice. That does. That sounds nice. And you know what? That may be true until it comes to the point where they start voting on whether or not you should still be CEO of the company. And you're going, oh, my Lord, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And we should. And we should want our companies to have a better outlook in the way that they treat people and the way they do things. But this is, to me, this is virtue signaling, getting ahead of the fact that there may be somebody else in the White House who is not very friendly to said corporations.
While the money is earmarked to go to his trust, there are no details on the beneficiaries. His brother Mark is Epstein's only known surviving relative. This, as a vigorous defense of Prince Andrew, is now underway. Buckingham Palace releasing a new statement after video surfaced purportedly showing the prince at Epstein's Manhattan mansion in 2010, saying the Duke of York has been appalled by the recent reports of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. His Royal Highness deplores the exploitation of any human being, and the suggestion he would condone, participate in, or encourage any such behavior is abhorrent.
It is abhorrent, and I do not take this to be a very light thing. And I'm the Duke of York, and I feel like that I'm the Duke of York, and so I don't want to talk about. I was married to Fergie, who was not Diana. I just want to say I'm the Duke of York. So what does that mean? Ha! I am the Duke of York. Just want to point that out. Very much so. By the way, apparently Epstein signed his will 2 days before whatever happened. He killed himself. Let's be real. But was he allowed to kill himself? Was it just, they fired the head of the U.S. prisons today, William Barr did. So, was this a strategery here? That were certain things done so it could facilitate him taking his own life, or was this just poor management? I'm probably going to go with poor management, although I wouldn't be shocked to find out otherwise. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Here's something for you to make you smile. Nathan Patterson's his name. He played JV baseball, blew out his elbow, went to college, became runs a business landscaping company. But over the last couple of years, he's been training, having fun, and he went to a Colorado Rockies game earlier this year, and we talked about him. He threw 96 on the gun, having fun, and it went viral, and the A's signed him. He had his first outing yesterday In the Arizona League, the rookie level league, he faced 3 batters and he struck all 3 out, hitting the gun at 95-96. Not too bad. That's a year, right? He said, I haven't pitched and I haven't played baseball since JV. So, and when I did play, I played second base and shortstop. There you go. Dreams, man, dreams. Maybe it's a Disney movie. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to always tweet at me. Check out the poll question about the economy. It's on Twitter as well. Check out the Facebook. Have a wonderful, uber awesome, amazing night. We'll do it again tomorrow. As always, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.